Alright guys, in this vehicle specific video, we're going to be doing a 2017 Mini Cooper. This is a John Works edition, but same thing, Mini Cooper, two-door coupe, frameless doors. We're only going to go over the door process because the side quarter glass windows and the back window, aside from the fact that I'm being kind of pressured with time with this video, I want to give enough time to explain the details of how to do this door. The side quarter glass window, you can see it's a very common dot matrix quarter glass window. You're going to lay the tint on the outside, cut it exact, shrink it to size, and then put it inside just like any other quarter glass window. And the same thing with the back window. The back window is technically a quarter glass window on the back of a vehicle. You're gonna lay the film out, unless you're gonna do this pre-cut, but you lay the film out, cut it to the dot matrix, dry shrink it with the dryer sheet just like any other rear window, and it's very simple. So let's go ahead to the door process and I'll explain in detail how to do this. All right, so the first step for the inside prep of this is we're gonna jam this gasket down. Since it is loose, we can jam it down to give us room to work with. And all you have to do is take the gasket jammer and very lightly push down, pushing the gasket so it folds into the window. This does not cause any damage at all. Just be very delicate with it and the gasket will lay back in there. Then we can go ahead with the inside prep. So we have the outside prep, the inside is prepped, and we have the gasket pushed down as well as the door latch triggered so the window's in the fully up position. We're gonna grab our film, which is gonna be 20% Suntech Standard Pro. We're gonna lay the bulk material out. And with this vehicle, it's fairly simple. It's a typical frameless door window. We're gonna line up the bottom edge. Make sure that that's straight, which you do have a nice straight edge. We're going to cut the front edge first, but first I like to cut the excess material off. We'll cut the front edge first. About a half of an inch from the exact top. So we're not going to cut it all the way up. That way we get that inward rip to cover the piece on the top, just like any other frameless door window. You want to have extra material on the top front edge. So after we cut the front edge, we're going to shift it forward slightly. Mount the back into place and then cut the back. You can see we have extra material at the bottom here. That's okay because we jammed the inside gasket down and we're going to be able to lay the film below that gasket. So after we cut the back edge, we're going to release this squeegee mount by spraying soapy water between the film and the glass. So we'll release that squeegee mount and we'll shift it forward ever so slightly, a little bit more than you usually would with a frameless window, because since we have this straight edge up top and this straight edge forward, when we lay the film into place, we're going to have to shift it backwards a bit to give this top edge a slight gap. It's not a standard window where it curves across the top. Since we have this straight edge, we are going to have to shift it forward a little bit more and leave a slightly more gap to compensate for the back shift that we're going to have to do when we apply it. So that looks really good. It's still a tight gap, but it's a little bit more than I would usually do. We got the bottom lined up and then we'll mount it in place and cut the top edge. Starting from the front. And I like to just finish this off here and then start again, giving it a nice clean 90-degree angle. Then we'll pull the film off and clean up the corners. Keeping all the radiuses nice and tight because they are very tight on this. The front top edge, following that curve. Bottom corner nice and tight. And then we just have this top point here of the window. Keep that nice and tight as well. Then we're going to check this to make sure we don't have to shrink it, which I believe we do on this. So I'm going to lay it an inch from the bottom, lay the bottom edge an inch from the bottom, and then I'm going to squeegee it into place across the top, down the sides, bringing our fingers to the center so that we can go ahead and shrink them. And we've got nothing. So we do not have to shrink this on the outside. So I'm going to mount this on the outside to apply it, and we'll do our spray squeegee spray and go ahead with the application. So we're going to use our Easy Reach or yellow contour to get the soapy water between the film and this gasket up here. Then we'll do our spray, squeegee, wiping the blade after each stroke. And then a final spray, then we'll grab the film from the outside. This is very simple. We're going to line up the bottom edge and then focus on sliding the front edge in between that gasket and the glass. You simply pull it back with your hand. It's fairly loose. Same here, the back edge. And then we'll focus on, after we get this bottom corner fully into place, we'll focus on getting the top lined up. So in a nice even, tight gap across the top and the front and the back, which we now have. I'm going to give it a spray, squeegee it, mount it in place. So with this, I like to start in the center, holding my thumb in place, making sure the film doesn't shift at all. Starting with light squeegee strokes, overlapping, just to get it mounted in place nicely. Then we'll push forward, and then down. Now that it's mounted in place, we'll start from the front, overlapping the top edge, and then our overlapping strokes, pushing much harder. And once we get about 2 inches from the bottom, we'll push those down. And then we'll go over the edges with the Blue Hawk towel, gray Laco card, and the heat gun. Remember, when you push out the bottom edge, since we do have it exposed, it makes it a lot easier. Make sure you have a little bit of soapy water to lubricate the gray Laco card, even though it already does slide very well. Having that little bit of soapy water solution really helps you push out the bottom, especially when you're using heat. And you just want to heat up that bottom edge, seal it up really nice without the towel wrapped around it. And then remember, if it is cooler outside, you're going to want to go from the outside, just like I tell you with any other frameless door window. And you're going to want to heat the outside with the heat gun, or use an infrared heat lamp from the outside and let it sit on there for about 5 minutes. That'll ensure that bottom edge is sealed up really nice. And when you untrick the latch, the window won't peel when you untrick the latch and the window moves down. So we look like we're good here. I'm going to show you guys how to put this gasket right back up. So what we're going to do is, once that bottom edge is sealed up, we're going to take our gasket jamming stick. And you see this little opening right here? We're going to stick the stick in there, and we're going to roll the gasket up, working our way over. You want to get in there? Very slowly and consistently, just rolling the gasket up. And if you ever do stop, you're not going to want to, you can either go back in where you started, which I'm going to do here because that's the easiest, and just continue down, making sure that it's coming up nice and consistently and not pulling the film up. And we look like we're good. We just have a slight bubble right here that we can push out. And this is why I say make sure that bottom edge is completely cured before you untrick the latch down here, because if the window isn't completely cured, or at least tacked up enough across the bottom, and you untrick the latch, your tint's gonna peel. So aside from that, this window's completely done. And just like any other frameless door window, the only difference is this different curve on the top, causing you to have to shift it differently, because you're gonna have that gap across the front and the back edge. But other than that, little touch up, and that is how you tint the front door on a 2017 Mini Cooper. I'll see you guys in the next video.